Question. Name one habit that Africans have and they think it's normal. I hollered to the comment section. Use an airplane mode to correct their network. When powers goes off, it's a must to look at the neighbor's home to confirm if they're all in darkness. Counting money again after withdrawal from ATM. I do that. Reducing the TV volume to smell the burning food. Keeping plates for visitors. My mom does that. Pouring the remaining water on your feet after bathing. Finishing food before eating meat. Slapping the microphone before giving a speech. Maintaining the same president for more than 40 years. Using your clothes to clean the spoon when no one is watching. Slapping remotes when the issue is the battery. Rush into the comment section before comment. Okay, now the question is for you. What other habits that you think it's normal? In the comment section and follow for more.
Woo! Okay. Here we go. So Eric Burleson was, Representative Burleson, who is currently being briefed by David Grush, was on a podcast and basically said that Trump was briefed on this alien hybrid situation. And this was during Trump's impeachment. It was on the Clayton Morris's Redacted and a Twitter X space hosted by Digent Dennison, if you guys want to look that up. I mean, I don't know if he prepared Grush that he was going to do this. I think doing it on a Twitter space probably wasn't the right place to be doing this. He probably should have made a public announcement on this stuff. Apparently, Trump jokingly said, "Is Adam Schiff one of them?" during this briefing, which a lot of people find quite funny. Again, I'd have to work out who that is. But, yeah, it's pretty wild, this. I mean, he effectively said that there are Nordics that we're dealing with here, and that he said that they're, and this is Burleson's words, not mine, they're about, a few hundred years ahead of us in terms of technologically advanced, race. And he said that the Greys, whatever's sending them, because apparently they're AI or some sort of robotic sort of AI-type being, is thousands of years ahead, using the form of psionics that we know and all this kind of stuff. So whatever's sending the Greys is allegedly, and this is from Eric Burleson, is thousands of years ahead of us in terms of technological advancements. And the Nordics that apparently we're interacting with that are living here, or at least transitioning through, are a few hundred years ahead of us. That's coming from Representative Burleson, okay? And he's just said that on a Twitter space, or X space in this case. Yeah, that's a lot to unpack. That's a lot to deal with. Okay, so there are living hybrid beings among us, possibly not even aware that they're hybrids. That has also come from Eric Burleson. Allegedly, Grush has been briefing people on these situations, including President Trump. And he was briefed in his last term during his impeachment process. So he knows, according to Burleson anyway. Yeah, I mean, again, we've heard some pretty profound things, and again, you're not seeing as much of me because I'm not sucking on the sack here and talking about he said, she said. But in this case, if it's someone that's working on a task force for transparency alongside Paulina Luna to get more information on what's going on, that has David Grush on his side, briefing him on these matters, that's why I'm taking this seriously. Allegedly, everyone that was being briefed in the room suffered some sort of G-lock, which is an aviation term where basically it's just basically sensory overload and they don't know how to respond to it. They're just in shock and awe, effectively, and don't know how to deal with the information. But that's pretty substantial. That's pretty substantial information. And I will be doing a follow-up to this because I think this is pretty big news. I don't know why he's gone out on the Twitter space to do this, though. He should have done this through the proper channels and made an address, a public address in some capacity. But, there's obviously a reason for this, so I guess we'll find out why. But I think it's important that we all know this, and that has come from a credible source in the form of Eric Burleson, who, by the way, is a healthy skeptic. He thinks this whole thing is nonsense. So the fact that it's coming from him, I take it even more seriously. Because this guy's been very outspoken about him on how he feels about all this stuff and that he's approaching it as a healthy skeptic. So I think that with that mindset, I think it hits even harder when it's coming from someone who is a skeptic. Just bear that in mind. But yeah, that's it for now, guys. You heard it first from DK. I'd love to know your thoughts on this. I will be doing a video on the main channel on this too. Thank you.
One thing about Germany is that they have the Autobahn. The Autobahn is basically their highway here that has unlimited speeds at some time. And there have been a number of times where I'm on the highway and I have a BMW and I'm going pretty fast. Like I'm busting like 165, 170, like minding my business. And there'll always be some type of like Audi or Porsche, whatever y'all call it out here. And they're behind me and I'm like literally sweating. I'm like, ugh, I need to get over it. I need to go to... And then every time the person passes me, it's a German grandma. And I'm trying to figure out, did her like retirement, it just hit? Is she just like, you know what? I'm just gonna live my life. Every time you get on the Autobahn, I want you to see the person when you get over that passes you, it's gonna be a German grandma. She's busting like 180 and I don't understand. Like, was she trained as a child to do this? Like, as she passes me, she's like, you got to be faster than that if you're going to drive onto Autobahn.
This would be the end of the world, right? If Superman showed up? Like, I know that recent Superman films have touched on this subject, that the public would actually be afraid of him. They would treat him as an alien and as dangerous. But that is drastically underselling what would actually happen if he showed up. I mean, society would collapse almost instantly. But in the beloved Superman film, Zack Snyder's Batman v Superman, Bruce Wayne's opinion of Superman is considered radical, that he thinks of him as a weapon of mass destruction, that we kind of need to go to war with him right now.
He has the power to wipe out the entire human race, and if we believe there's even a 1% chance that he is our enemy, we have to take it as an absolute certainty.
But everything he says there is not only correct, but in the real world would be the overwhelming majority opinion. If a country has Superman on their side, it's not like, say, a rogue nation acquiring nuclear weapons. Missiles can be shot down, retaliation can deter a nation from launching them, but if you have Superman on your side, you can instantly win any war. Or he could just decide to destroy the entire planet one day. Superman worship would instantly become the world's most popular religion because this deity is right here where everybody can see him. He can demonstrate his power at any time. There would be factions among his worshippers and they would go to war with one another. There would be endless conspiracy theories that Superman is secretly planning to take out this country or that he's going to destroy the planet on some day in the future. Some Christians would declare him to be the Antichrist. Any secret identity he created would be uncovered in 1 millisecond thanks to social media, and anyone he was friends with or close to would instantly be kidnapped by some world power demanding that he come and take out their enemies on their behalf. Nothing else would matter. Having control of Superman would be more important than having control of the world's largest military or oil reserves. And he absolutely would not be allowed to just walk around and set his own agenda. Think about how nuclear material is monitored, how it's governed by endless treaties. It would be that times 10,000. He has infinite destructive power. He is immortal. Every disaster that he failed to intervene in would be considered to be blood on his hands. We would in no way be normal about this. It's kind of like those old Christmas sitcom episodes where they find out that Santa Claus is real and they kind of just move on. Where in reality, if you found out that Santa Claus was real, you would go insane because it's like everything you know about the universe is wrong. I think within 5 years of him making himself known, the earth would be ashes.
And some people in this world are so damn confused, it's crazy. This lady was screaming at ducks because they were doing what nature does.
Get away from her! Get away from her!
She really pulled up to this nice ass area, hopped over the fence, and took off her shoes, started walking around the area screaming at ducks because she thought one duck was R-wording the other duck.
So everybody's just standing around?
How do you figure more ducks get made?
For real! He really started screaming at the other civilians for standing by and doing nothing. And then I started using my critical thinking skills and I was like, hold on, wait. This gotta be a skit. There's no way someone's actually going this crazy. But then she jumps in the fucking water. This water ain't for swimming, so she's literally breaking laws to do this shit. And then as all the ducks are swimming away from her, someone hands her a fucking fishing net and she starts chasing after them, bro. And then after all the ducks get scared away, they literally run off the screen. She finally realizes that she's not some type of fairy princess duck hero, and then she gets out the water, bro. I hope they hit her with the meanest fine of all time.
The phase of the moon that was during your date of birth determines your purpose. So go ahead and Google your date of birth and whichever phase you were on, and let's go through this together. So if you were born on a new moon, this means that you are a creator. You bring things to life that aren't already existing. If you were born on a waxing crescent, then you are here to create a spark. You are here to take initiative. You are here to take the first step. If you were born on a first quarter, this means that you are a warrior. You are here to fight. You are here to break free of limitations. You are here to set the standards for working extremely hard. If you were born on waxing gibbous, then you are here to refine and improve those around you. If you were born on a full moon, you have a massive mission. This is an incredible, transformative person. If you were born on a waning gibbous, then you are the wise one. You are here to use all of the energy that you have learned and then teach it to other people. If you were born on the last quarter, then you are here to release old patterns. You are here to let go of what no longer serves the energy around you. And if you were born on a waning crescent, you were here to complete the mission that you feel. You are ending things that no longer serve the collective. You are setting the new stone for new chapters. You are here to save people.
Google Earth iceberg. First up, we got donkey hit by Google car. So if you go to this road in Botswana, you will end up seeing this donkey just standing there. But then after the Google car passes, you can look back and see the donkey laying on the ground as if it got hit by the car. This got pretty popular online, and a lot of people were complaining to Google about it and accusing them of hitting the donkey. But then in 2013, Google released an official statement saying they didn't hit the donkey, and they showed pictures and explained how the donkey just laid down after the Google car passed to take a dust bath, which makes sense. Ice ship. This is likely referring to what looks like a frozen capsized ship about 100 miles off the coast of Antarctica that you can see if you still go back in time. It's roughly 400 feet long. It appears to have the roughly same shape as a yacht. It has chimneys and a line where I'd assume there would be windows. Although this ship doesn't appear to match any descriptions of known vessels lost in the area, it may be some sort of private ship that someone owned or a secret government vessel that they didn't want to disclose to the public. Even like the website Snopes, that's all about debunking conspiracy theories, doesn't have a clear explanation for what it was, but I could see people just dismissing it as a chunk of ice, but still, it looks like a 400-foot long ship. Creature on the balcony. So this is a really popular one. There is this town in France where this one block now is just completely blurred out on Google Street View, but if you go back in time and look at what it looked like, you will see a picture of this weird, creepy creature on the balcony standing near a bicycle that looks like a strange, evil alien thing. What's funny is this got so popular that it started a whole big argument online, and so Google tried to blur out like just the creature thing, which made it look way more ominous, and so it definitely grew the popularity. And yeah, Google did it to themselves. Flying rabbit. So there is this road in Poland where you see this rabbit hopping along the road, where then it suddenly looks like it's flying magically through the air. After people online investigated it deeper, they realized it was not Volpertinger, the magic flying rabbit, but rather it seemed that the Google car had collided with the rabbit and sent it flying. Help. There's this area in Los Angeles where there's a whole bunch of different signs that say the words help spelled out really big as if it's someone trying to get someone's attention that's stranded on an island. This sparked a lot of debate online on whether it was actually someone in trouble or if it was something else. If you go into Google Street View, most of the area where the signs are blocked by walls, but from one angle you can see one of the larger signs. The area isn't extremely nice, which kind of adds to the creepiness of it. I personally thought it was just someone calling for help because they lived in Los Angeles, but the local police investigated these help signs and found it was linked to a homeless man who was trying to complain about how the LAPD treated homeless people. Ghost girl. So this is a cemetery in Texas that shows a girl kind of eerily peeking from behind a tree. Now, although just the sight of a girl eerily peeking behind a tree is still kind of menacing looking. People point out a floating, shadowy thing in the background that they say is the actual ghost. Now, a few people have claimed to have made this picture for Google Street View and say that it was just their daughter hiding behind a tree. But either way, they have removed the picture, and that has kind of fueled the eerie, spooky urban legend around this cemetery. Giant crab. So this is referring to this thing online where people were saying if you go to this town in the UK, you can allegedly see this gigantic crab that is roughly the size of 2 school buses just below a dock. But obviously, if you look into this, it's just a hoax that got famous online, but it was a good one. I wouldn't mind if there was a giant crab in that was that big in the ocean. That's not true. I would care. That'd be horrible. Lincoln Way. So this is referring to a strangely abandoned road near Clairton, just southeast of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This is a little dead-end road called Lincoln Way. A couple years ago, they completely removed it off of Google Maps, but you used to be able to go there and do a street view on it. What we know is people lived there back in 2007. It seems most realistic that these people all left there because the area wasn't very nice and there was some crime, and people even had left this area and completely abandoned houses back in the 1970s. So it seems like something was going on. What's weird is this spot is popular for urban explorers, and a lot of people that explored these places have said that the homes look like the former residents just left their belongings, which would mean they left really quickly for some reason. There's different theories to why they did this. Some say there are several sinkholes in the area surrounding that neighborhood. Others say that maybe this nearby steel mill was doing something bad and putting off gases or something, but probably not, because the neighborhood just across the road is still there and people haven't left. But there is this really interesting urban legend called the Beast of Lincoln Way. It's about this monstrous creature that lived just off the road in the nearby woods. It was this hairy, dog-like beast that people would say tormented residents, eating their pets, scratching on their doors and their windows, and that it terrorized the people on this road so much that they all just left. But while some people do claim this happened to them or someone they know, it likely just came from a creepypasta story. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for being interested in really obscure things found on Google Earth. I personally love weird internet lore, and this was one of the best ones that I have found in a while. But if you guys like this video, then go check out my YouTube and Spotify for more longer videos, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Child of God, thanks a lot for joining us today. It's been a pleasure being with you to this point. I'm White311H. On this episode, we shall be spreading love and peace together to the whole world. And let me just say, these videos, my friend, are for entertainment purposes. Anything you see here, my friend, is for entertainment. But if it triggers something in you, some curiosity or something else, you can do your own research and tell us what it says in the comment section. And one more thing, let's all embrace honesty, being honest. That way, even the information you come across here, we would be trusting it if we all knew everyone was honest with one another. But before we reach to that point in the world, let's spread this message of love first. Hit that like button and let's continue watching till the end. Peace, man.
So the United States can just send bombers to another country and take out their nuclear sites without any kind of a declaration of war or permission from Congress or any of that stuff? Not only can they, but Hollywood actually made a film about this specific operation 3 years ago. And it's actually crazy to go back and watch it now. If you go look it up, it's an obscure little movie called Top Gun Maverick, and it grossed $1.5 billion. And I know what you're saying. You're saying, Jason, I've seen this movie. I don't remember the word Iran being spoken even once. But others of you who also saw this movie just now for the first time are saying, wait a second, what country were they bombing? Because the film just says that it is an underground uranium enrichment plant that is a threat to our allies in the region. They carefully never say what country it's in. And then they say that the Pentagon has decided to assemble a strike team to take it out. Like there's not even any reference to any branch of the government making this decision. But as many articles pointed out at the time, there's only one country on planet Earth that all of this applies to. A country that does not yet have nuclear weapons but is trying to enrich uranium to build them. But just to erase any remaining doubts, it is a key plot point in the film and a key part of the climax that this enemy country has American F-14 fighter jets. That is the plane made famous to the American public because it was in the original 1986 film Top Gun. That is an extremely weird plot point because what enemy country would ever have a combination of newer Russian fighter jets and 1970s era American fighter jets? There's only one country in the world that still has them, Iran. We sold them to Iran back when that country was one of our allies prior to the revolution in 1979. This screen grab of an F-14 on the ground about to get blown up, this is not from the film. This was released by the Israeli military after their recent airstrikes. The filmmakers could have created any purely fictional scenario they wanted. They did this instead. They could have invented an entirely fictional country and said its name. Movies do that all the time. I am not saying that this film was put out there as like a secret plan to convince the Americans this is a good idea. They didn't have to. Half of our action movies are already about this, about a small group of heroes taking unilateral action. When Iron Man gets his suit in the first movie, the first thing he does is fly it to Afghanistan and attack some terrorists. Whether or not it's the right thing to do in real life, in fiction, everybody loves it, and Tom Cruise knows that better than anybody.
If you get scared easily, do not watch this. My son sees ghosts on a regular basis, and he also has told me about his entire past life. I've done a video about him in the past, about him confirming my miscarriage baby, whether it was a boy or a girl. I didn't even know I had a miscarriage. It was before he was born. I had never told him, and he just told me the whole story. So every once in a while, he will like pop off with something. We don't ever like ask him or lead questions. He'll just like start talking. A couple weeks ago, we were driving in the car and we were talking about pregnancy. I have a friend that's pregnant, and we were talking about her growing a baby in her belly, and he was like, yeah, you grow and you grow and you grow and you get really old, and then you die and you go to heaven, and then you go back into somebody else's belly. And I was like, that's not really how that works, I don't think. And he was like, no, yeah, it does. Like, I remember. He starts telling me this whole story about whenever he was a really old man, he got really sick and he died and he went to heaven, and he got to pick me as his mom, and that's whenever he came down and was in my belly. At that point, I got really confused. I was like, Beck, you've never been an old man. And he was like, yes, Mom. I was an old man. My name was John. I had 2 kids. Well, actually, I had 14 kids, but we were in a really bad flood. We lived way, 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 way out, and it was before cars, and we were in a really bad flood, and all of my kids got in the yucky water, and they all got really sick, and they started throwing up blood. So a lot of them died. I had 2 kids left. One, his name was John too, and the other's name was Joni. I had John and Joni, and they were my kids. He also told me he had a wife named Esther. I don't know where this was or what he was talking about, but he said he lived to be really old, and then his lungs got really tired and they stopped working, and he died and he went to heaven. Told me they live on a farm with a really, really, really long road to get to their house, so not very many people came out there. But he lived until he was really old. He then told me that he went to heaven, and he stayed up there for a really long time until it was his turn. He got to choose who he went to, and he saw me, and he saw my husband, and he decided that's where he wanted to go. The story was so in-depth. There's a lot more that I haven't said, so if you want to hear the whole thing, I can always post the whole thing. But it was so in-depth. He knew so many answers to so many questions. We were asking him, like, immediately he would answer, he would answer, he would answer. He knew the questions. It was crazy. He knew people in heaven that we've never even talked about. We're not super religious. I'm just gonna throw that out there. I don't know what I believe. I don't know who I believe, but there's something. And apparently, maybe reincarnation. Have you ever heard of kids talking about past lives or second lives? Because this is the first time I've ever hearing a kid talk about a second life, and it's kind of freaking me out.
This is Bill Ryan from Project Camelot and Project Avalon, and the date is the 16th of February, 2010. And this is a bit of an unusual video presentation here, because I'm taking the step of making a video as an interpretation and as a commentary on an audio interview, which we did with an important witness who came and reported his story to Project Camelot a little while ago. About a couple of weeks ago. And as with many of our witnesses, this person wanted to remain anonymous, but he has agreed that we transcribe the audio, and so we've got this as a transcript. And this is going to be released at the same time as the video, because it's important to be able to read the transcript at the same time as you're considering what I'm saying about it here. And as we come into the story, you're going to understand exactly why it's important to get all the information, to hold it all into a very fine balance. Now, this is a British person, and he worked in the British military for a number of years. And after he retired from the military, he worked in the City of London, in a fairly senior position, in a respected position, in the City of London. And for those people watching this video who don't know about the City of London, the City of London is like, it's like an enclave. It's like a financial enclave in the heart of London itself. Some people consider it almost a little bit like the Vatican. It's very old, it's very ancient. It's the heart of the financial system, not only of Britain, but possibly the world. Many researchers consider that it's very likely that the City of London calls the shots on the financial systems in America. They've got control over the Federal Reserve, the Bank for International Settlements, a whole bunch of things that happen. This is like the nerve centre of the financial world. And it's very Masonic, it's very ancient, it's very traditional. And our source attended a number of meetings with senior Masons. And while many of these were interesting, they were routine by City of London standards. They were discussing financial affairs and so on and so forth. And then in June 2005, he attended another meeting that he thought was going to be a routine meeting, but actually this was something rather unusual. And he realized it was unusual as soon as he arrived. In fact, in his interview with us, the one which we have the transcript of, you will see that he says that he felt it was an accident that he was there. He shouldn't really have been there. He didn't know what was happening. And as such, he didn't really participate in the meeting. He was there as a little bit as a fly on the wall. He was just listening to what was happening. And at first he didn't even understand what was being discussed. Now, the people there were Masons. They were senior Masons. They were about 25 or 30 people there, including senior politicians who most people in the UK would recognise by name. I do not know who they were. He didn't name them, and I didn't ask them, but he said these are well-known names. The chief of police was there, representatives from the church, representatives from the military, 25 or 30 people. And as he listened to this story being discussed, it was an informal meeting. It wasn't like a big table with kind of notepads and water glasses and minutes and an agenda and a chairman. There was people in a room who were talking about all of this stuff. And what they were talking about was a plan that had clearly been made a long time ago. And what they were discussing was they were discussing the implementation of this plan. They were discussing how things were going, whether they were on track or not. And what, for example, to give a flavour of this, they were discussing between them some of the problems that they had in the implementation of their plan. And as this little presentation continues here, you'll realise what the plan was. And I'm going to be revealing this in very much the same way as it was revealed to our witness and as he revealed it to me, bit by bit, step by step. The first thing that he heard was they were talking about the fact that Israel didn't look as if it was getting prepared to attack Iran anytime soon. This was a problem. Even back in June 2005, they were apparently concerned that what it was that was planned on some kind of a timeline wasn't rolling out according to schedule, and this was an issue for them. So that attracted his attention very quickly, because he'd never been in a meeting when this kind of thing was discussed. Then they were talking about China, and how powerful China was getting, both militarily and financially, very quickly, and that the Japanese weren't doing what they were supposed to do, which was to interfere in some way with the Chinese financial system. They weren't doing that, and this was another problem because China was getting too strong too quickly. Other things that were discussed were, for example, the coming financial crash, the centralization of resources, everything that we saw starting to happen in October 2008. They were planning that and referring to it in their meeting in June 2005. So there was clearly a rollout of some plan here, and he was quite shocked the more that he heard, and when he really realised what was happening, he was extremely shocked. And one of the reasons why I'm giving this video presentation now is to soften the blow and interpret this a little tiny bit, because it is shocking information. And what I also want to do is I want to try and differentiate out between what it was that he reported, because he'd heard it with his own ears, and what it is that is his speculation and my speculation about how all this fits together. It's very important information. We need to know this stuff. Even though it doesn't look like it's going to be on track, I don't think this will happen. I think that there are a bunch of crazy people there who are extremely determined to do something, and they were in a hurry, and this is important to understand, they were in a rush to try and roll out this sequence of events. Now, what he described is what the sequence of events was. It starts with Israel attacking Iran. Now, this hasn't happened yet. There have been a number of indications that there are forces which are trying to push this into happening. You've only got to follow the news for the last 2 years to realise that the public is being prepared for a justification for this kind of thing. Iran is being set up as being the bad guys that deserve something to happen to them, and so on and so forth. Now, that's going to be the start of what is like the opening gambit in a big chess game. And the plan is to provoke Iran or China to retaliate. And our guy, our source, who is a military man, is privately as convinced as he can be, although this has never been made public and this is not publicly known, that Iran does have nuclear weapons. He believes that they have been provided by China behind the scenes. And all of this is intended because it's all right with these controlling forces that Iran has nuclear weapons, because they want them to be used. The plan is for either Iran or for China to retaliate after Iran is struck with a nuclear weapon. At that point, there will be a limited nuclear exchange in the Middle East, followed by a ceasefire. He heard this being planned in this meeting. This is being choreographed. It's like the script for a movie. This is exactly what's intended to happen. And during this time, the other thing that's being set up for this, and many people watching this will be aware that this is being set up in the background. We've had a lot of information about this from a number of good researchers from many countries who are reporting this on the internet. But things are being set up in many of the Western countries for there to be heavy controls over populations, martial law, increased powers on security forces who are not just the army or the police, but in Britain, for example, our source said that he absolutely knew personally for a fact, that a very large number of private security people, their powers were being increased to give them the ability to arrest people, the ability to detain, the ability to handle riots in streets. And here we're talking about just regular people working in private security, people who give the parking tickets on the streets. Their powers are being increased in the same way. And last year, we heard President Obama talking about how he wanted to have a sort of National Guard at home in America, ready to handle this kind of thing. There are a lot of indicators that this is being set up. And in this rollout of this crazy scenario, where it is intended that there will be a limited nuclear exchange in the Middle East, the idea is that as the world looks upon this with horror, then they will demand from their governments that there are heavy controls over travel, over communication, over people who meet, over people who protest in the streets. They want to make sure that they don't have crazy bombers on airplanes, crazy bombers in the shopping malls. They want to make sure, and because people will be driven into fear by this, they'll request and demand and insist on heavy controls from their governments, which will be justified. And this is where you're going to kind of get the martial law situation in all the Western countries. It's intended as a justification. All of this is just the start of something, because the story gets much bigger, and it's pretty horrifying. And if watching this now you're feeling a little bit shocked, this is how I was feeling when I heard this information, and this is how our source was feeling when he was hearing this information in this meeting, because this is just the beginning. Now, during the time of the ceasefire, everyone's shocked, everyone's frightened, everyone's really terrified about where this is going to go. There are all kinds of heavy controls over populations everywhere. And then the next thing that happens in this chess game that's being played is that biological weapons are released on China. He heard this being discussed in this meeting. They will release a flu-like virus that will be genetically targeted against the Chinese population. It's racially targeted against the Chinese people. It's designed to spread like wildfire and to knock out a large number of the Chinese people. And these people in this meeting were laughing about this. They said, China will catch a cold. Those were their words. China will catch a cold. And they were laughing about the fact that these biological weapons will wreak havoc among the Chinese population. And after that, then what effectively will be a kind of plague will actually spread right across the world to the West as well. Our source was not clear whether this was a Chinese retaliation or whether the thing would just spread out of control in the way that it would be very understandable if it did, whether it's racially targeted or not. These things actually mutate. So now you've got a situation where there's been a limited nuclear war in the Middle East. There's a pandemic that really is sweeping across the world and really is killing people very visibly. And you've got this totalitarian military lockdown in all the governments in the Western world because everyone's going to be in panic about all of this. And then, he said, then the real war starts. Something that would be justifiably called the Third World War with a much more major nuclear exchange. And at this point, I asked him, is this just about population reduction? What is this about? Why are they doing this? Why this insane Dr. Strangelove plan for just unleashing all of this stuff on the world? Why do it? Now, as our conversation went on, I started to find answers to those questions. Now, some of this is speculation. I want to share this speculation with you because it's important enough that we work together here to figure out what's going on. And there are some clues, there's some very important clues that I'm going to present to you here in this video. He said, absolutely, it's about population reduction. So I said, well, in this meeting, did they mention any figures? And he said, yes, they did, 50%. Half the world's population. This is planned as per the Georgia Guidestones. For those of you who don't know what the Georgia Guidestones are, it's a stone monument in Georgia, in America, that was erected anonymously a number of years ago. It's in 8 languages, and it's like an Illuminati manifesto for a new world, as it were. And this whole thought about this being a manifesto for a new world, this is an important